When Columbus first came across the Atlantic, he was searching for a path to the riches of the Far East, and he got this far, actually got out here to the Bay of Limon off Panama. He thought he was in what he called the West Indies, the Western Islands of India. So from that time on, people have been looking for a way to cross over the Isthmus of Panama. Columbus was followed by Balboa, who followed an Indian trail across the isthmus and discovered what he called the South Ocean, the South Sea, which Magellan would rename as the Pacific. But from that time on, people wanted to find a way across the isthmus. Charles V of Spain actually sent a team over here to study the canal, because he wanted a canal to bring back the riches and the gold and the silver from Peru. So it's always been on the drawing board, but it wasn't until Ferdinand Lesseps came along following his triumph at Suez. When he completed the Suez Canal, it was a phenomenal achievement. It was like going to the moon. And so he put together a company to look at the possibility of building a canal across Panama. This morning, very early, the pilot came on board about 5 a.m. and Panama Canal is the only place in the world where the captain has to, if he wants to come through, he has to give up control of his ship to the pilot. So this is the only place in the world where the pilot doesn't offer suggestions, he gives commands, and the captain follows the commands. If he doesn't want to do that, he takes his ship around the southern tip of South America. So there's an official signing over of the ship to the Panama Canal Authority, and then on the other side it's signed back to the owners of the ship. The canal pilots, and we probably have 4 on today, one is up here directing things, the others are in various parts of the ship where it may be a little bit more difficult to see. And they are giving the commands all the way through from the whole 51 miles from the beginning to the end. Gatun Locks is a 3-step, like a water elevator that takes us up 85 feet to the level of Gatun Lake. Then we basically sail across the Isthmus of Panama to the other side, where we go through 3 more lock chambers and we go back to the sea level on the Pacific side. So the locks are all named for towns that were here before the canal was made. When this area of Gatun Lake was flooded, then those towns just disappeared and ceased to exist. So it's kind of in their memory that you get the names Gatun Locks, Pedro Miguel, and Miraflores. Gatun is a three-step lock, and it takes about, once we're in the lock, in the chamber of the lock itself, it's about 15 minutes to fill, and we're on to the next one. So the French effort began, and they came over here with a great deal of enthusiasm, but no real understanding of the tropics. No one on that team had even been to the tropics, so they had no idea what to expect, and immediately they encountered all the rain, all the heat, the sun, just miserable working conditions, and they worked for 10 years. Basically, the French did not have the equipment, they didn't have the technology available to be able to do what they proposed to do. And they were just inundated by problems with disease. They didn't understand that mosquitoes were the cause of the malaria and the yellow fever, so 20,000 people died, and we're going to pass an area called the French Cemetery, where 20,000 more or less people are buried. So it was an incredible disaster. Nothing worked. Eventually the French company went bankrupt. Everybody who had invested in that company lost everything, and it was an abysmal disaster. So along came the U.S., and the U.S. began to see the continued need for a canal. But with the Spanish-American War and the U.S. picking up interest in the Caribbean and their inability to get a navy across without going all the way around South America, suddenly there was a big need for the U.S. to have a canal here. A sea level canal would never have worked. And the reason is you would have had to dig the Continental Divide down. We've raised the ship 85 feet, but if you had to dig that down another 85 feet, they'd still be digging. It just wouldn't work. It was a long, prolonged debate. Should the canal be through Nicaragua or should it be through Panama? And each side had its proponents, and each group of proponents had a vested interest in where it would be. And the Nicaraguan route was longer, but it did have the possibility of being sea level because of Lake Nicaragua. Panama was shorter, but it needed to use the locks, so it would be more expensive. So the Americans realized that they had a very military need, and also a need to get Oregon and California had become states. There was no transcontinental railroad in the U.S., so they needed to get people and supplies across the continent, and they're very interested in the Panama situation. Teddy Roosevelt got his negotiators to work with Colombia. Panama was then part of Colombia, to negotiate a treaty that would give the U.S. rights to build a canal through here. It was called the Hay-Haran Treaty. When they took it back to Colombia, they said, no way, Jose, we're not going to do this. So then plan B for Roosevelt was, there was already here in Panama some dissension. People didn't really feel part of Colombia because they were geographically so far removed. So there was a small group within Panama that was looking to get away from Colombia. Roosevelt was able to take that group, and with the U.S. Nashville sitting out in the harbor and warships on both ends of on both sides of the canal, encourage those people to form their own government. So the Republic of Panama was born, with the U.S. conveniently standing there. And the agreement was that the U.S. would protect this new government from Colombia coming in, which had every right to do so because it was their people, if they would give the U.S. rights to build the canal across Panama. So what happened, the U.S. came in and basically built the canal. They ran it very successfully, but along the lines, things began to change. Colonialism was out in the world, and really what the U.S. had here was kind of a colonial outpost. Here in the canal zone, 10 miles through the middle of Panama, they had built this tiny American community and all these American forts. And Panamanians started saying, look, what's with this, you know? And so Omar Torrijos, who was a military strongman here, but the most popular Panamanian who ever lived, was able to negotiate a treaty with Jimmy Carter, who was then president of the U.S., to return the canal back to Panama. Now, had that not happened, the U.S. would have radically had to have changed the way in which they were operating the Panama Canal. The Panama Canal basically just broke even, and it was operated as a government institution, and it wasn't done very efficiently. And there were lots of people that had vested interest and were hangers-on, and eventually the U.S. would have had to radically change and almost privatize the canal if they were going to keep it. So in a sense, yes, the U.S. gave the canal back to Panama, but it also unloaded a whole lot of things. We had 14 military forts here, but the whole idea of war had changed. You no longer needed forts down here. We had a rapid deployment strategy. So there really was a lot of money going to waste down here. And so for the U.S. to get rid of the canal was a big boon to Panama, but it was also solving a big problem for the U.S. There were actually two treaties signed. One was to turn the canal back over to the Panamanians. The other treaty was the U.S. agreed to protect the neutrality of the canal in perpetuity, which ipso facto means you're going to protect the neutrality of Panama. And most of the concern about could Panama run the canal, could they run it efficiently, was really from U.S. people, many of whom had worked in the canal and just didn't think the Panamanians could do it. And the fact is that the canal runs much more efficiently now than it ever ran in the U.S. days. There's been a reduction in accidents of about 30%. The speed of the transits has increased. The canal is now building an expansion of the canal, which is going to cost $6 billion. The U.S. ran it just as a service. It broke even. The Panama Canal Authority today, the Panamanians run it as a business. It makes money, big money. This year, direct check to Panama. Direct check. Here, Panama, thank you very much. $900 million. When the new amplification expansion is completed, it'll be $1.25 billion direct check to Panama.
Anytime she gets romantic.
A little higher, there you go.
The lake was, at the time it was made, was the largest man-made lake in the world. If you were to drain this lake today, it would take about a year to fill up again. There's that much water that comes down in Panama during the rainy season. So the islands you see were actually the tops of mountains. So these were big mountains. And the lake basically fills, when they dammed across the Gatun Locks area, this filled up with water. It basically obliterated the towns, and wildlife either swam or climbed up. But these islands have actually remained untouched for now almost 100 years. So each one of them is kind of a unique wildlife habitat and preserve. And we're going to be passing in a few minutes Barro, Colorado, which is the home of the Smithsonian Tropical Research Institute. And scientists come from all over the world. About 900 a year will come here to do different studies and stuff. Panama Canal Authority actually runs the canal. It's a government-owned company. It has a board of 11 people. One is the director of the canal. He is appointed by the president of Panama for, I think it's a 10-year period. And then members are appointed by the legislature, but it's totally free of government, which is very unusual in Panama. But they're allowed to run the system right, and they do. Last year, the canal took in $2 billion. Okay, a lot of that is retained for continual upgrading and maintenance of the canal, quite apart from the expansion program. And before they went into the expansion program, which is $6 billion, so you don't just do that without a lot of forethought, they looked at the possibility that Nicaragua might do a canal, which they're talking about. Also considered the possibility that the Northwest Passage may open. That's a whole other way to move cargo. But they felt that there was sufficient demand for all of those venues to work without taking anything away from the canal. This current economic situation the world's in is kind of a real test, because I can tell you the last time I did this was a year ago, and traffic is way off. I couldn't believe when we came in this morning. There were very few vessels waiting. Things went very rapidly. The pilots tell me, yes, things are off. It's still taking the maximum number of ships through, but it's just the number waiting to go through is less. But interestingly, they're making more money. The most challenging part of this canal really was digging through the Continental Divide. And they had to take the mountain from 210 feet down to, I forget what, 45 feet, something like that. To do that, they had to blast away a mountain. And it was horrendously difficult, not just moving all the earth, but that area is very unstable. They had continuing problems with landslides. Sometimes they'd make all this progress, and the next day it would all be filled in. The equipment would be buried in the landslide. People would sometimes be buried in the landslide. So it was called Culebra because of snake, you know. And the engineer who was in charge of that division was a young man by the name of David Gaillard. And he really spearheaded that whole effort. Unfortunately, he had a brain tumor and he died before it was completed, but today they've renamed it after him, so it's no longer called Culebra, it's called Gaillard. When we're in the Culebra Cut, I mean, it really, you will be amazed when you think that what these people did with the equipment they had. And you'll also see a lot of the expansion program. They've continually, over the years, been chipping away at that because they've continually had problems with landslides. In its whole history, the canal has run 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. After 1963, they put in the lights, they started running 24 hours. It's only been closed twice, and once was when they had a landslide in Gaillard Cut that blocked the canal, and then the second time was just before the U.S. invaded Panama. For many years, there was no way for people to get from one side of the canal to the other than by a ferry system. Then eventually in 1942, they built a swing bridge, which we'll see over by Miraflores Locks. That was a small 2-lane bridge, wasn't very efficient, but there really wasn't that much demand in those days for people going across. When the U.S. built the Bridge of the Americas, it was the first time that you actually had a major bridge crossing. It's called the Bridge of the Americas because it links the continents together. That was the main way to get across until the Centennial Bridge, which was built for the centennial celebration of Panama. Dawn Princess is a Panamax ship, which means it's the biggest ship that can go through the Panama Canal. And a ship that is too big to go through the canal is called a post-Panamax ship. Through the canal, that's how we make our money on the canal. And the tolls are based on a complicated system, but basically for cargo vessels, it's based on an equivalent ton. So if you took about a 20-foot container, and it's based on approximately how many of those you could take on a cargo ship when it's full. If it's empty, there's a reduced rate because you don't have that much cargo. With passenger ships, it's based on the amount of berths that a ship has. So we have, I think, 1950 and 1975 berths is what our capacity is. So whether those berths are full or not, we pay $120 per berth. Okay, that gives you the basic toll, which I think in our case today is about $230,000. Additional to that, it's like going into an a la carte restaurant, because every little item on the menu that you select, you pay extra for. The only thing that's included is the pilotage. But the tugs cost, I think, $11,450 per tug. Each locomotive cost, each line cost, the line handlers cost. So everything is additional. So by the time it's like an airline ticket, you know, you pay for the ticket, and then you add on all the fees, and suddenly the ticket is a lot more expensive than you thought. So let's figure 230 for our toll, and then today we have about, guess, over $80,000 worth of fees. So our total cost today, I think, is going to come in somewhere between 300 and 320, 320,000. That's a lot of money. Cha-ching, cha-ching. And out of that comes a lot of good things in Panama. I mean, all over Panama, you'll see little towns where there are basketball courts. You'll see a big sign from gift of the Panama Canal Commission. The road in front of my house, which I never thought would be paved, is paved thanks to the canal. So thank you for coming.
Here we go. Keep going. Oi, oi, oi. Hello from Panama. Yeah, it's a little small.
When we get to the Pacific side, they built one set, a set with one lock called Pedro Miguel. There's only one lock chamber there. Then you go through a little lake which is called Miraflores Lake. It's just a connecting lake. It's not really anything. And then you get to Miraflores Locks, which has 2 levels. The reason why they did that is they were concerned about the tidal variance. On the Atlantic side, there's only a 2-foot tidal variance. On the Pacific side, it can be as much as 27 feet. And so they were concerned about that. And for that reason, on the Pacific side at Miraflores, you have the biggest lock gates, 790 tons. The other one's about 360 tons. So the biggest lock gates, the heaviest ones, are over there as well. When we're in the locks, then the pilot is giving commands to the locomotives, which basically have 3 functions. They're keeping the ship centered in the lock. Also, if needed, they can assist the ship in going through, although the ship is going through under its own power. And they have an emergency function. God forbid a ship loses power, but if it loses power and its engines don't reverse and it's going a little too fast, it could crash through the gate, and so the locomotives can be used to hold that back. We're on, I think, our fourth or fifth generation of locomotives. They each cost $1.9 million. They weigh 50 tons. Our ship today used 4, sometimes you use 6. The new locks are not going to use locomotives at all. The new locks are going to be big enough that they will have a tug on both ends of the ship, and that will be sufficient to take care of things.
hoy cantar me pertenece. Eres símbolo de gloria y mi canto va por ti, sonero, buen sonero. Te llevo dentro de mí a cada paso que doy, y como sonero soy, orgulloso estoy feliz. Sonero, buen sonero. Siguen salseros cantando así por ahí, cantando tu son sonero. y hablando de mi país.
Por eso nos pertenece, respecto a lo musical, mandar porque te mereces un abrazo fraternal. Por eso nos pertenece, respecto a lo musical, mandar porque te mereces un abrazo fraternal.
Pero que mira por ese sentimiento, por ese ritmo y por ese H, en este lindo momento que está cantando Fabré. Gracias por tu son, sonero, gracias por tu son. Te quiero mucho, te llevo en el corazón.
Me dicen el tiburón, pero soy inofensivo. Y el que tenga frío en el mundo, yo le regalo mi abrigo.
Gracias por tu son, sonero, gracias por tu son. Te quiero mucho, te llevo en el corazón.
Gracias por aceptar esta invitación. Gracias por brindar una lección a la nueva generación.
Gracias por tu son, sonero, gracias por tu son. Te quiero mucho, te llevo en el corazón. Gracias por tu son, sonero. Así que préstame atención, a ti Beni Moré, que te encuentras en el cielo, recibe mi bendición. Gracias por tu son, sonero, gracias por tu son. Porque a mí no se me olvidan tu sombrero y tu bastón. Gracias por tu son, sonero, gracias por tu son.
Para cantar son montuno hay que poner sentimiento y corazón.
Gracias por tu son, sonero, gracias por tu son.
Y yo recuerdo a Pío Leiva como decía, oye, que yo me voy pa' Morón.
Gracias por tu son, sonero, gracias por tu son.
Qué bonito es recordar aquella generación.
Gracias por tu son, sonero, gracias por tu son.
Que al cantarle con esmero, hoy late mi corazón.
Gracias por tu son, sonero, gracias por tu son. Sonero, hombre de historia, hoy cantar me pertenece. Eres símbolo de gloria y mi canto va por ti en sonero, buen sonero. Te llevo dentro de mí a cada paso que doy y como sonero soy, orgulloso estoy feliz. Que sonero, buen sonero. Siguen salseros cantando así por ahí, cantando tu son sonero y hablando de mi país.
Por eso nos pertenece, respecto a lo musical, mandar porque te mereces un abrazo fraternal. Por eso nos pertenece, respecto a lo musical, mandar porque te mereces un abrazo fraternal.
Pero que mira por ese sentimiento, por ese ritmo y por ese H, que en este lindo momento está cantando Fabré.
me dicen el tiburón, pero soy inofensivo y el que tenga frío en el mundo, yo le regalo mi abrigo.
Gracias por tu son, sonero, gracias por tu son. Te quiero mucho, te quiero en el corazón. Gracias por aceptar esta invitación. Gracias por brindar una lección a la nueva generación. Gracias por tu son, sonero, gracias por tu son. Te quiero mucho, te quiero en el corazón. Gracias por tu son, sonero. Así que presta mi atención. A ti ven y more que te encuentras en el cielo. Recibe mi bendición. Gracias por tu son, sonero. Gracias por tu son. Porque a mí no se me olvidan tu sombrero y tu bastón. Gracias por tu son, sonero. Gracias por tu son.
Para cantar son montuno hay que poner sentimiento y corazón.
Gracias por tu son, sonero. Gracias por tu son.
Y yo recuerdo a Pío Leiva como decía, oye, que yo me voy pa' Morón.
Gracias por tu son, sonero. Gracias por tu son. Qué bonito es recordar aquella generación. Gracias por tu son, sonero. Gracias por tu son. Que al cantarle con esmero, hoy late mi corazón. Gracias por tu son, sonero. Gracias por tu son. Gracias por tu son. Gracias por tu son. Gracias por tu son. Así que déjame decirte que no son todos lo que son. Gracias por tu son. Porque faltaba el muso y el amigo tiburón. Gracias por tu son. Y aquí te estamos cantando con el lindo corazón. Gracias por tu son. Así que mira con sentimiento para ti va mi canción. Gracias por tu son. Bien, vamos cantando, vamos avanzando, vamos para adelante que esto no se va a acabar. Así que sonero aprovecha que el muso viene a gozar.
Panama is on an economic roll. It really is. And that's all happened since Noriega was thrown out and stuff like that. But there's a lot of talk about this becoming the Singapore of Latin America. So far, there's no hint of the cleanliness of Singapore, but in terms of the financial, there is. And when we get over on the other side and you look back and see the skyline of the city of Panama, it is booming. And this is really all good for Panama. Panama is moving from a second world country into a first world country very rapidly. That presents challenges for some of the indigenous people who are struggling to maintain their lifestyle, but at the same time, they've got a foot in both camps, but it's really their commitment to maintain their lifestyle that's important. The government encourages that. The government gives them big areas that are theirs exclusively. 25% of the country is preserved as either national parks or preserved areas. When we get off on the other side, there's a huge maritime area that's part of a marine national park. And the environmental thing is extremely important in Panama. It's easier to get a license to own a gun than it is to own a chainsaw. Chainsaw is considered a very dangerous weapon. You're not allowed to have them. If I want to cut down a tree on my property, I have to go get the conservation people to come out and look at it and say, yes, you can cut that tree down. It's estimated about 5,600 people died during the U.S. construction effort. estimated about 20,000 during the French effort. So for every mile of the canal we've traveled today, about 500 lives were lost.
Se necesita una poca de gracia y otra cosita y arriba y arriba, y arriba y arriba y arriba iré. Yo no soy marinero, por ti seré, por ti seré, por ti seré.
Dime cómo te llamas para quererte, porque no puedo amarte sin conocerte. Y arriba y arriba, ay arriba y arriba y arriba iré. Yo no soy marinero, por ti seré, por ti seré, por ti seré. Bamba, bamba.
Welcome to Acapulco. We're very happy to have you here with us. We're going to start together our city tour. We're going to be together for the next 4 hours, and we're going to take you to the most beautiful places in Acapulco. May I introduce you the staff we're going to be working for you today. My partner in crime today is Lalo. Please say hello to Lalo. My name is very easy. I have a very, very common name. My name is Benny, B-E-N-N-Y. Welcome again to Acapulco.
Thank you, my friends, for your visit. Thank you. I hope you like it. Hello, my friends. We hope you like the show.
Thanks for coming to see us, the Cliff Divers.
We are the divers.
The real divers.
Yeah.
Margarita, this is Margarita, the best drink in town.
Cheers! My first ever margarita. Thank you.
These are Mexican fire opals, a very original design, handmade. It's a fire opal. We had mines in Mexico, and we're building our own pieces. Our shop has been over 40 years established. So most of the things that we have around here, we do make our own pieces. So anything that comes to you, to your mind, we'll try to do it as soon as fast as possible. Please come to Acapulco, Mexico. We will be very happy to have all of your friends come to Acapulco. Thank you.
Necesita una poca de gracia pa' mi patilla. Ahí arriba, ahí arriba, ahí arriba, ahí arriba, por ti seré, por ti seré, por ti seré. Yo no soy marinero, yo no soy marinero, soy capitán, soy capitán, soy capitán. Bamba, 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 bamba. Bamba, bamba. Necesita una escalera grande y otra chiquita. Y arriba, y arriba, ahí arriba, y arriba, por ti seré, por ti seré, por ti seré. Yo no soy marinero, yo no soy marinero, soy capitán, soy capitán, soy capitán. Bamba, 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 bamba. Necesita que me des a tu hermana, que me des a tu hermana la chilanguita. Y arriba, y
such intelligent animals and so soft.
What was your favorite part? What was your favorite trick with the dolphins?
I guess where they got behind and pushed our feet and we were up in the water.
And you went flying?
Went flying, yeah.
And the dolphins are so sweet.
Yeah, they're like, they're passive like these stingrays. You rub them and they just love it. Yeah.
It was just
I think this is a great tour.
Prepárate mi morena, en la noche de la rumba. Prepárate mi morena, es la noche de la rumba. Habrá una cumbia con velas donde polleras abundan. Habrá una cumbia con velas donde polleras abundan. Ella baila bien, ella baila bien, ella baila bien, ella baila bien. En la noche de la rumba verás a tu amiga fiel. En la noche de la rumba verás a tu amiga fiel. Prepárate mi morena, en la noche de la rumba. Prepárate mi morena, es la noche de la rumba. Habrá una cumbia con velas donde polleras abundan. Habrá una cumbia con velas donde polleras abundan. Ella baila bien, ella baila bien, ella baila bien, ella baila bien. Esta noche allá en la rumba verás a tu amiga fiel. Esta noche allá en la rumba verás a tu amiga fiel.
cielito lindo, vienen bajando un par de ojitos negros, cielito lindo de contrabando, de la Sierra Morena, cielito lindo, vienen bajando un par de ojitos negros, cielito lindo de contrabando. Ay, 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 canta y no llores, porque cantando se alegran, cielito lindo, los corazones. Ay, 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 canta y no llores, porque cantando se alegran, cielito lindo, los corazones.
Que tienes, cielito lindo, junto a la boca, no se lo des a nadie, cielito lindo que a mí me toca. Y ese lunar que tienes, cielito lindo, junto a la boca, no se lo des a nadie, cielito lindo que a mí me toca. Ay, 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 canta y no llores, porque cantando se alegran, cielito lindo, los corazones. Ay, 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 canta y no llores, porque cantando se alegran, cielito lindo, los corazones. A la mía, cielito lindo, no hay más que un paso. Ahora que estamos solos, cielito lindo, dame un abrazo. De tu casa a la mía, cielito lindo, no hay más que un paso. Ahora que estamos solos, cielito lindo, dame un abrazo. Ay, 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 canta y no llores, porque cantando se alegran, cielito lindo, los corazones.
Hello, good morning. We are here at the Sal Museum. In small miniatures, you can learn of how the salt is produced here in Cuyutlan. The salt is produced by an evaporation process. At the raining season, the water from the ocean gets into the lagoon, and because of the high tide and low tide, at the dry season, the lagoon dries, and the mineral, the salt, remains on the surface. What people do here, they scratch the surface of the lagoon with these kinds of instruments. These are part of the tools that people use to get the salt. This triangle that is here with nails is called agata. At these salt mines, most of the people that work are men, because working with salty water, it makes your clothes very stiff, and if you use it, your skin gets very red. So most of the people that work here, they only work using cotton underwear. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Omar. Omar is in charge of the iguanas. He's the one who feeds them. What Omar does sometimes, he goes out and he looks for pregnant iguanas. After that he gets a pregnant iguana, he brings the iguanas here and they let them have their babies here. Can you see this? The males are the ones who get them, and they mark territory.
He would bite you.
Yes, it bites. The black iguanas are more aggressive than green iguanas. This is a green iguana, and they have two ways of defending themselves. They can whip you with the tail, or they can bite. Hello, this is Mario, and we are here at the Turtle Sanctuary, where people are studying the habits of the two of the three turtles that come to this part. And we are going now to the place where we are studying the habits of the turtles, from the olive ridley and the black turtle. I invite you to come and take a look and learn which one is the male from the female. This turtle is the black turtle. The big difference between land turtles from sea turtles is that land turtles have hands or fingers, and sea turtles, they don't have fingers, they have only fins. Land turtles, sometimes when you buy them in the aquarium, you need a rock in the middle so they rest. These turtles, they don't need something to rest because they only put their hands behind, like their fins right here, and they are resting. Today we're going to release a few baby turtles that are here. We're gonna have to give positive vibration so they can come back in about 25 or 30 years to have baby turtles again. We only have crocodiles. And it's the ones that are dangerous, we have them here. It's this Acutus crocodile. Right here, it's only for you to see it. But in this lagoon that is here, I am gonna take you to take a walk. There are about 80 to 100 crocodiles living in the natural environment. Crocodiles have nocturnal habits. So at night is the time when they hunt. At the daytime, they just enjoy the sun and relax. They sleep.
Wow, what magic. Wonderful. Very Mexican. Cheers.
My bottle's empty. Needs a refill.
I want an extra big guys. My little turtle comes first.
Viajaba yo monte adentro para el campo conocer. Viajaba yo monte adentro para el campo conocer. Sentí yo un divino aroma, me produjo un gran placer. Y así entonces conocí la plantación del café. Lelo, la, recogiendo mi cafetal, trabajando sin cesar, recogiendo mi cafetal. Araba yo un día el campo, su linda mirada vi. Araba yo un día el campo, su linda mirada vi. No sé
poco percibí y cuando iba cayendo el sol fue como la conocí. Recogiendo mi cafetal, trabajando sin cesar. Recogiendo mi cafetal. Los años fueron pasando, muy duro yo trabajé. Los años fueron pasando, muy duro yo trabajé. Pero con su compañía de nada yo me quejé. Feliz yo sigo cantando, recogiendo mi café. Recogiendo mi cafetal, trabajando sin cesar. Recogiendo mi cafetal. Recogiendo mi cafetal, trabajando sin cesar. Recogiendo mi cafetal. Trabaja y trabaja, Jibarito.
I'm getting a dolphin tattoo. It's right with the dolphins yesterday and it was awesome. Very happy.
De a caballo monté dentro, para el campo conocer. De a caballo monté dentro, para el campo conocer. Sentí yo un divino aroma, me produjo un gran placer. Y así entonces conocí la planta